We have to stop denying injustice. When we see injustices happening, we need to live in the truth, and we need to acknowledge the injustice that we see, and we need to say it. We need to accept that there are injustices in this world, in our country, in our community, and in ourselves. And this process of denial and deflection and strategies of not living in the truth and continually denying the injustices we see is killing us and will kill us, and is not living in the truth of who we think we are as individuals, as groups of people, as communities, and as a nation. This continual denial of injustice, you can't have a conversation. The strategies are so strong and so embedded in who we are that if people are sharing how they're experiencing specifically this crisis right now with this pandemic of the coronavirus, and we hear Black and Indigenous and people of color sharing their injustices and how they are experiencing this virus through the lens of white supremacy and of systemic racism and racist ideas and policies, and we deny it. We deny it. We look the other way. We say that's not true, or that's not real, or I know somebody who didn't experience that. We deflect, we deny. These are strategies that we as white people have been embedded in literally in our humanity. In our humanity, to look and see another human being who is experiencing injustices, and we deny it, we deflect it, and we say it's not true, or we can't look at it, or we can't accept it, or we say we don't understand it, or all these other ways. We have to stop doing that. We have to live in the truth. The truth is that there are injustices, and we all know that. We know that there are injustices in the world, in our country, in our communities, in our families, in ourselves. These injustices are real, and until we can acknowledge them and accept them and realize and admit to them, can we admit, as we listen and see of the voices and the experiences of Black and Indigenous and people of color, can we listen, accept, and admit the truth of their realities, of how this is landing on them, and be honest and reflective as privileged white people who have access, who have opportunities in the structure of white supremacy. We know that that exists. As ignorant and as misinformed and as uneducated as we have been to the truth of white supremacy and historical inequities and racism in this country, yes, sure, absolutely. And we know it to be true. We don't need to look much further than our communities where we live. We know who is there and who isn't there. We know who it makes power, or has power, makes decisions, and who don't. Children see injustices. There is no excuse. We have to stop living in denial and have to push back against that narrative or that inner feeling of our inability to honor the truth and listen to our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow Americans, our fellow community members, our fellow family who are experiencing these injustices. And as we as white people can somehow justify that, do we not see how that is encroaching on our own ability to be compassionate and empathize and to be able to see the truth? We're not living in the truth. And this is harming ourselves and everyone else, and our ability to live out our shared values and to the truth of what we think and believe America to be. It is all rooted in these lies, and these lies are perpetuated by us, by me. And we have to stop doing that. And I don't want to hear, oh, Michelle's too much to understand the injustices and understand the racism. It's overwhelming and it's so hard. And yes, all of that. But I can guarantee you we will never change that until we admit it. We must live in the truth. I encourage everyone to think about how living in the truth will allow us to see ourselves differently and experience a humanity that we have given up, that we have pushed out. The ability to justify inequities and justify racism damages ourself, our humanity, our ability to empathize, because you can't have empathy and deny justice or injustice. You can't. How can you do that? You must be able to somehow push it aside. And what you're pushing aside is not only that connection and to another human being who is experiencing injustice, but you are pushing aside that humane ability to empathize and be compassionate with one another, for each other. That collectively, we are so much better and stronger together, although we have been taught the opposite. And it just pains me so much to see and hear these stories and experiences of our fellow brothers and sisters and people who live in this country who are hurting, and that somehow we as white people have to stand strong in denying that reality. And if we continue to just say you don't see it the right way, and that's not happening, or that's happening, but it's because of you and what you do or what you choose not to do, those lies are hurting, yes, our connection to each other, but it is hurting the internal truth of our own humanity. We know that is wrong. We know that it is not true. There is no way that you could sit or be in front of someone experiencing injustices that you don't experience is because a system that is designed for you, that because of a system that is designed by you and continued and exacerbated and complicit in this situation. You, me, we are all, specifically as white people, are truly so tied up in this at the detriment of all of us. But I ask you to think about your humanity, yourself, and to think about the next time that you hear of an injustice, you hear an Indigenous person, a Black person, a person of color tell you how they are experiencing the world differently than you are, and you know it to be true, and you know the privileges and the opportunities and the access that you have been given at the detriment and at the disadvantage of other people, you know that to be true. We can't live in that denial anymore. We can't. We are dying. We are all dying. And this virus is showing us that this system of white supremacy and divide and conquer and exclusion and extraction is not sustainable. We know that. But when people are showing us what is wrong, what is harming all of us, and we continually deny it, we are adding to that injustice. We are adding to our dehumanization. So I encourage everyone to live more in the truth, to listen, and to speak the truth that you know, to be honest and admit, yes, that injustice is happening, that Indigenous people are experiencing this pandemic, this disease, this crisis at a greater level that I may not understand. But what I do understand is that the system is set up and designed for that, at my benefit. And I'm not okay with that. I cannot be okay with that. I can no longer justify it. I can no longer justify that my Indigenous, Black, and brown brothers and sisters are treated in any way different than I am, that experience the world any different than I do, that live in this society and strive to just exist any different than I do. Enough. It's enough. And we will not make any of these changes until we live in that truth. And we get the courage to admit and take that leap of faith. What happens when we live in the truth? What happens when we can admit and see those injustices in each other and what is truly happening? Could it be that that truth and living in that truth could make the changes, could start a force, a momentum? We've never done it before, so we don't know. We've never lived in the truth. We have denied. We are hurting ourselves, not living in that truth, and we are hurting each other. It is hard, but it's liberating. The freedom to live in the truth, to no longer allow people to lie to you, to no longer perpetuate those lies, And whatever feelings come up for you, to own those feelings that may want you to deny, to somehow say, I don't have time, can't talk to you about this, can't go there, I don't see it that way. All the ways that we deny our humanity and our connection to our fellow humans when we deny their reality. We can be liberated from this. I know we can. I encourage everyone, as I will and continue to do, to live in the truth, to honor the people around me that are experiencing life differently than I am, as a white person who has been given access and opportunity that I want for everyone, that we should all want for everyone, to finally work towards living in a society that benefits everyone, and what that would look like for our children. After all we have done over the last 50 years to exacerbate these injustices and to spread white supremacy all over the world, we owe that to our children and our grandchildren, if Mother Earth even gives us that time.